welcome to today's episode of Behind Blackflower. I'm Sarah. I'm the producer of 1968 Blackflower Drive.
Hi, and I'm Brett. I'm the writer and director.
We want to let you know that these podcast episodes are also available as video podcasts, so head over to our YouTube channel if you want to check out the visuals. But yeah, we're excited to give our listeners some stories and information about the making of this radio play. So let's dig into all things Behind Blackflower.
Specifically for this episode, though, we're going to do something different. We're going to hand the reins over to our dear friend, Max Koch.
Look at me.
Who's the amazing actor, who's the amazing artist, who's the amazing author, who can do everything, actually. He's like, is it the quintessential, like, threat? There's the triple threat, but there's like the...
I can't change the guts in a toilet tank, though.
That's true. Plumber, terrible.
Terrible.
Everything else, great. So he's going to guide us on this whole next little episode. So we're ready to be on the grill.
Yep. All right, it's all yours, Max.
All right. It's on you now. Oh, boy.
All right. We do a little back and forth here.
Okay.
All right. Boop, boop. Brett,
Yeah.
this is a two-question question.
Okay.
How long have you been working on 1968 Blackflower Drive? And what inspired you to take these scripts you'd originally written for TV and develop them into a radio play?
Nice. Okay. So the whole thing started when I think it was 2016. Might have been that early that I started working on this thing. And it was,
I don't do math, but that's 8 years ago?
Yeah. So it was like 8 years ago that I started working on it as a TV script, and then I went, okay, let's make it into a because I can't sell a TV script. So I said, like, let's
Cancel.
Yeah, so I'm like,
anybody.
let's make it into a radio play, because a radio play you can kind of do. And also I grew up on a radio play, so I just thought this would be a really cool thing to make into a radio play. And then what was the second part of the question?
The second part was, and I had help with these questions, by the way. What inspired you to take these scripts you'd written for TV and develop them into a radio play? What inspired you to do that? But why a radio play? Like, who goes to that right away? Because you think of radio play, you think of old-timey, you think of the guy standing around the microphone, and like, so it was no matter what, it was an auditory experience. Because you're a musician?
Part of that.
Were you a fan of radio plays? Are
Loved
you
it.
into theater of the mind? Yeah.
So the thing about it is, with the theater of the mind, what I really like is that every time you suggest something, every time you put a voice there, the listener gets to invest how dark or how light the situation is. Mm-hmm. So you go, oh yeah, there's a person with a broken leg, and they're on the ground and they're crying.
Yeah.
And you hear the crying, but you go, the listener gets to go, I want to go really dark. I see that broken leg.
Right.
I see the way the jeans are laid out and the blood
Right.
that's stained there. Or, okay, it's just they're hurt. They're on the ground. So
Got it.
the listener gets to invest how dark they want to go, or how light they want to go, or how invested they want to go.
Which I think is something that is really interesting about this, because we do have people who have started listening to this that do not enjoy the horror genre. Mm. And there are some really horrific things that happen throughout this story, but it's much broader than that. There's lots of fun moments and heartwarming moments too. But there's a lot of people who would not like horror, our mothers, for example, who are loving this because they do have the ability to imagine less darkness.
Yeah.
He can't help but write horror without it being also hilarious. It's the craziest thing. And I don't like horror mixed with comedy, but the comedy is always so natural in your writing.
Yeah.
And the
Very
situations
good with
are always so weird that it's hilarious. And then boom, it's super dark and scary. All right, next question. Sarah, what would you, now Sarah, tell just starting this project, Sarah? What advice or pep talk would you give before entering, if you could go back?
Hire somebody to do it all and not do it yourself. No, I'm just kidding. That's really interesting.
You became an audio engineer.
Yeah, I'd never done any editing, any sound mixing, any recording, any videoing of podcast episodes ever before. So I had to learn a lot very quickly.
How exciting.
I think the advice I'd give Sarah back then is, I know it's hard now, but you're actually going to end up really enjoying the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I was actually surprised by, is that I actually really enjoy editing as I got better at it. And I find a lot of satisfaction in the fact that I did get better at it, if I don't say so myself.
Look at those soul
This is Jameson.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Great answer. Brett.
Yeah.
Ocean and space are recurring themes throughout 1968 Blackflower.
Yeah.
Were those always part of the story, or did that develop once you adjusted the script from a TV series into a radio play? It does seem kind of cosmic at times.
It always was, because I like the idea of two natural elements in existence that are seemingly unconnected, and they're very like powerful forces. For instance, the ocean can be very soothing. You can relax in it, you can lay down in it, and like you can like float, you can flow with it, you can surf with it. It can also destroy you, it can drown you. It can like destroy, exactly, Jameson. It can destroy cities and towns through its through tsunamis, which I guess is more of an earthquake underwater. But it's like it's a powerful source, and also space.
Yes.
Where like you can't exist in space.
I feel like you've always had more of a relationship with space than the ocean.
I've always loved the deep parts of the ocean.
Right.
With those the deep sea anglers.
Right.
Oh, you love those illuminating fish.
Yes.
Those illuminating fish are fascinating to me. And
They
and
are
like,
pretty great.
And how,
the guys with the things,
yeah,
I love those guys.
yes,
I love those guys.
with the fish bowls. Yeah, for me, it's always about dangerous elements. I mean, like if we go to a season 2, I want to get into more fire and lava and volcanoes. So that would be a thing that I would do with that. But nature is very scary and dangerous. So like I love those things. I think that's a great thing for a horror. Yeah.
Sarah, did you have an embarrassing experience you'd like to share during this whole process?
I mean, I embarrass myself daily. But
What?
I feel like this question came because there was one, but I'm struggling to think of it.
That's good. Let's eliminate that embarrassing moment. It's not even in your psyche anymore. I think that's a good thing.
So there is a moment that you had that was embarrassing.
All right, well.
Did you
Do you want
to during a session?
Do you want to do this?
Apparently you want to, so go ahead.
So one time we recorded an entire session, and there was a problem with the microphone.
Oh, yeah. So that was the first one we recorded.
That was the very first episode. So episode 1 was recorded in a different way than we did the other episodes.
Right.
We got some great advice when we were looking into how we could do this. And the person that was giving us the advice, Douglas Sarine, who is one of our cast members, told us that he's like, you have a play, you have a barn, you want to put up a play, just do it. And so that's how we approached the first episode. We had everybody come here into our main bedroom, which is kind of barn-like, and we recorded it all in one go with everybody in the room, as if it was like a just start to finish radio play.
It was an exciting day.
And it was really great. Lots of performances came out. It was people meeting each other for the first time. It was just really wonderful. As I was packing down the equipment, I discovered that one of the 3 microphones had been facing the wrong direction. And it took me 3 days to tell Brett that happened, and then another 5 days after that to actually listen to the audio to see how bad it was, and if we needed to gather 20 people again, which took 2 months to schedule, and redo it. Luckily, we have a friend who is an amazing producer in sound post-production who took all of the audio and performed magic.
Emmy-winning magic.
Emmy-winning magic. And she fixed it. So there's a few moments throughout that episode where things sound a little digitally, what's the word? Doesn't matter. Digitized. And that's because of all the filters and everything and all the work that Vanessa did to fix my very large mistake. You have such passion and such specific vision for what you want the outcome to be. And we love that, if I can speak for both of us.
Absolutely.
And support that and want to support your dream and vision and be part of it and collaborate. And so for me, certainly when I did something that could completely blow that to smithereens and ruin it, that's terrifying.
Well, that's very sweet. Thank you. That's very sweet.
We recorded that episode 18 months before we released it and had edited it, and Vanessa had done her work, you'd scored it and everything. And then it wasn't until about a month before we were about to release it again that we went back and listened to the first pass of what we did. And I learned a lot more from between that 18 months about the technical aspect of what I was doing. And I ended up reworking and re-editing a lot of episode 1 before we released it, which it was so worth it because it sounds...
Is that close to a proud moment?
Yes. There you go.
Yeah.
I've answered both parts of the question.
Yeah.
Next. Because Brett hasn't spoken enough in this episode, so let's do another Brett question.
And it's a perfect segue because I was very excited that you were directing this thing, you know. So, Brett, you usually focus on writing and performing in your past projects.
Yeah.
How have you found the experience of adding director to the mix with this vision of yours and the specifics of yours? And the fact that ever since he started Blackflower, he started dressing like this. It's so weird. Like, the guy would just wear, jeans and a t-shirt, and now this is his outfit.
Yeah, well, part of it's because you dress the part, and I'm very... One of the first times we started working together, I was like in a suit or something like that, and I was like, "Oh, that's a method thing." I'm just a method because
it's a method thing.
It's a method. Like anytime I could do like external things to help myself feel more the part, it's like a little more professional. You show up in a tank top.
Yeah.
You go, "Hey, this is what I want you to do for this scene, okay?"
Yeah. I think I directed Red Leaf Complex in athletic shorts and a t-shirt the whole time, and I wish I could go back and just wear a suit, but I needed to be comfortable because I was getting in all these weird angles.
But but
not to make it about me.
You're also a different creature.
Yeah.
And you have there's a set part of you
Confidence?
that I think there is a confidence there that like you like okay, I can direct.
Right.
I this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's never been a comfortable place for me.
Right.
But I also
well, I think knowing how much you wanted something and you were making, I think a great director is able to make decisions like that. And I think you were very good at that. I don't remember you hemming and hawing much or being indecisive about an actor's choice or you were always very, because you do that thing when you got your little book and your pen and you're talking like this. And it's effective though. It's pointed and it's clear, and I think that's so important in directing. That's what
interesting. That's great. It's the kind of thing where I went, I don't know who else should do this. Mm-hmm. I don't want to put someone else to go, hey, here's my idea. Yeah. Now, like go over this 600-page story,
right?
And then tell that story. I know it better than anybody. So I can go. I will direct it. What I loved about the directing of it was when I was out of my head and not being insecure about it, it was about just going, it was collaborating with the actor. The actor would come in with something and they were never wrong. Mm-hmm. It's more about let's shape it together to figure out where you're coming from, where I'm coming from, and then we go to this new area.
It's interesting that you say that, and I know a lot of people came in with choices, but I'll be honest, as working with some of the actors, I noticed some of them didn't really know what was going on. So, and you really got them like, so what am I doing? What is this scene? Oh, did you not read it ahead of time? So who is this? And you would make it so clear and so crisp and so the objective was set. And then everyone just like fired into place. In fact, it's very interesting because I don't know how many of these actors actually had any voiceover experience.
Very few.
And a lot of them seem pretty confident behind a microphone. But I think it's because we were forgetting about the microphone. We were just we were embedded in the experience of telling the story.
Yeah.
That could have been helped by my inexperience as a sound mixer, recorder.
Audio engineer.
Sorry, Cricky. Because I wasn't going to be super militant about microphone technique because I had no experience to tell people what would be a better way. I just knew like in the moment.
But you got really good at that though.
I got better at it in the moment.
You hold, little closer, too loud, back off. You were doing that.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't happen until episode 7.
Right.
But that's all right. You will have a different experience of the radio play if you listen to it in your car or on your home speakers or in headphones. In headphones, you're really going to get the scope of Brett's sound design where he has placed certain action at different areas of the surround sound. And so it's really
it's 100% true because the first version of episode 1 that we were talking about earlier, Nicole and I my wife and I listened to in the car on the way to Malibu, and I knew I was missing stuff. So when you said that episode had been fixed, I listened to it again, and it was a whole different experience because I listened to it on headphones.
Yeah.
And it is a very atmospheric, beautifully sound designed podcast, radio play, horror story that really should be heard in headphones. Especially, and we'll get to it later, the music, which even Nicole said, no one does music like Brett. And it's always one of the most favorite elements of the things that we've collaborated on. But we're going to get to music in a little bit. All right. So, Sarah, what part of the process did you look forward to? And what part of the process did you dread?
I looked forward to finishing a day of recording and locking myself away in my room to edit it, funnily enough, which I was surprised by. And the part that I dreaded most, there were 2, actually. So scheduling was a nightmare. 9 episodes over 18 months, 100 characters, 25 actors, trying to find a 2 to 3 hour window every couple of weekends over 18 months where we could somehow get all the actors that needed to be in a scene together was incredibly challenging. Plus, I was working my full-time job at the same time, so that was very difficult. And then I actually really struggled on recording days because, especially when I was working, because I was exhausted and having to, I found myself in a very interesting position because, yes, there are times that I was a performer in this, but for the most part, I was the producer, scheduling, trying to keep things on track, recording stuff, and always feeling very insecure about that part of it. And everyone else here was creative. So we would have a house full of anywhere between 4 to 10 people at a time, all being very creative and outgoing. And I had to be the person that told everybody to
They're goofing off. We'd be goofing off and doing things.
Be quiet, get in the room, do your work and get the heck out of my house.
That's great.
And so that was actually really hard for me. For the most part, most of the recording days were not my favorite part of it.
Did you enjoy, because she's also a fabulous actress. She was on camera in Red Leaf Complex, but she also voiced some very compelling characters in this project. So I think your skill development, like over the years, you can do a lot of things now. So that's pretty good. So I think
Okay.
you should be proud of that.
Thanks.
Because you put in the work.
Yeah.
You gotta put in the work. It's not just gonna happen. You have to put in the work. All right. Sticking with dread, Brett,
Yeah.
what scene were you most dreading directing?
Oh, directing? All the sex scenes. So the intimacy scenes were like a bit difficult for me to direct. I was uncomfortable with that because I didn't want to make it. I knew that when I was writing it, I wanted to have there to be the sex element in there, but I didn't want it to be like. Thankfully, it wasn't on camera, so I didn't have to have like an intimacy counselor.
Yeah, right.
I didn't have to have that whole thing.
Right.
So I can go, okay, let's just like hint at it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing sorry to interrupt, but the thing that our whole self-production aspect of this that worked in our favor is that we recorded most of the episodes in our guest room, which is barely soundproof and has the squeakiest wood floors ever. And that ended up working to our advantage. So there were points for the sex scenes where we literally just had people like move their feet and the floorboards would squeak or bounce a little bit and the microphone stands would wobble, and that created that bed, the very...
Yes.
If you're imagining it, can be perceived as very graphic sex, but really it was just two dorks jumping up and down on squeaky floors. So that kind of helped.
That definitely did help. And it was the kind of thing I would actually be dreading every time I'd have to direct, because I'd be so like insecure or like not confident
the hour
about
before any recording day was in.
Yeah, I was always nervous. But like whenever I was in the moment of like we're doing the scene and I'm working with these fantastic actors, it was always like a moment of peace where I can kind of relax and find the story with the actors. So it always kind of worked out, but I'd always dread almost everything. I never went in going, yeah, I'm in it today. I can do it.
Right.
So
I think we kind of covered this, but is there anything else besides all of the great technical skills you learned? Is there anything else that you learned overall from this experience up until now?
Well, there's a lot that I've had to learn. I've had to learn how to apply for copyright and a trademark and how to do
Social media,
create a whole bunch of social media accounts, design a logo, design cover art, how to apply to the podcast platforms, how to make a YouTube channel.
So the knowledge was
I
insurmountable.
don't think I'll ever make light of influencers ever again, because it's a full-time job, and if people have made millions of dollars because they have worked at becoming an influencer or content creator, more power to them, because I definitely understand how hard they worked. And hopefully one day that will be us, and I can pay someone else to do that, because this is, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Hey, Brett, what about you? Have you
Yeah.
had any experiences throughout the process of creating Blackflower that you weren't expecting? Something that took you by surprise?
A couple things. The directing thing, definitely. It's like I've always been insecure about directing, but like, okay, I think I got a little more of a handle on it. And two, I love preparing a bunch as an actor. Like I love like getting like, oh, I know how to control the situation. And I saw so many performances where people would come in and go, I don't know what's happening with my character. I don't know what the story is. I didn't read the script. Whatever.
Yeah.
And just like, and they flew. They just like flew through it. And they were so free. And I went, I learned more about that.
I'd like to turn that around on you, Max. So you are one of, could count on one hand performers in this who is a professional voiceover performer and very successful at it and amazing at it. Was there anything that you learned through this process of working with two hacks who'd never done it? Or anything that surprised you?
No, I was so unbelievably impressed with these two, and it was so natural. And see, I'll tell you what was really the most moving for me. You know, pre-COVID, I would go into studios and be with other actors in the studio. And, you know, I was on a show called Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness, and we would all get to go to Nickelodeon, and we would all act in the scene together. And I think it's so important to play off of each other in these scenes. Then a devastating plague hit and broke the world, and we were all withdrawn from each other. And to this day, they don't have group records anymore.
No. Ever?
Oh, no. Very rarely. Very rarely. I mean, for me anyway, I haven't been in any since. So it all came bubbling back for me. And it reinvigorated my desire to get better at my craft just by working with you guys and you giving me the opportunity to get back in behind a microphone and bouncing off people. And it felt so good. I would look so forward to these sessions because I love acting, I love voice acting, and I love playing off and listening because so much of it is about listening. And when I'm alone doing a thing, it's not as fun. I mean, I've worked on major projects, studio films, where I was alone in a booth, and I don't know what the other person sounds like or what their character's like. You guys gave me that, and I thought you guys were amazing. I thought the process was amazing. I thought it was fun. I thought it was very efficient, even in some cases more efficient than a lot of professional jobs I've had, really. Really.
Oh yeah, because I wanted everybody to get the heck out of my house.
Exactly.
No, just kidding.
Exactly. So I'm telling you, I think it's made me better, and I think it's given me more confidence. And I'm like, let's do another one. That's it. It's over. No, I want to. Because I remember when we had the last episode wrap day, I was like sad. I'm like, no, I like doing this. I like having all these crazy characters out of this maniac's head to voice.
Well, we'll see what comes from season 2.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I just want to point out the genius that where I just got you to talk about yourself, a very talented actor, and also compliment us at the same time.
Yeah, that was really good.
Right?
That's actually scripted.
Sarah, in
Yes.
all 9 episodes, did you have a favorite line?
Yes. My favorite line is in episode 4, which this will be coming out later, but actually episode 4 dropped the day before we recorded this Behind Blackflower episode. My favorite line is from episode 4, and it is Mrs. Potterson saying to Barry, ignorant is what someone is before they learn something. And
Great scene.
there's a lot that's tough about this world, certainly at the moment, and the last few years have been really challenging for everybody, and lack of empathy and grace to allow people to change and grow is something that I feel has driven a lot of the thing that makes this world so hard. And so that sentiment of, instead of ignorant being a negative that you send out at somebody with anger or to dismiss them as irrelevant because they're ignorant, to take that out of the equation and allow for the grace for just that.
Look what you did to your wife. You got her verklempt.
I feel like if everybody took that line and put it into their soul, it would heal like a lot of the world, which is silly.
What about a favorite character?
Oh, I think Curly.
Curly's funny. Curly's funny. He's great.
Yeah.
Oddly, for me, it's almost like the way it came out. I think maybe Lee. the point of view that you brought to it, which is I always thought I need to have Max play that part.
Yeah.
And it was just like such an interesting thing about like, and now you're so dismissive and demanding of Team Iris. You go, yeah. All right, next.
Oh.
Can we do this?
Lee in episode 5 and that character's exploration through the Blackflower house, trying to figure out what is actually going on, is genius. And I have to say, its genius is amplified by your performance, because there is actually very little sound effects or music that we've had to add to those scenes of just of Lee walking through the house, because you provided so much personal sound effects of the efforts and
your efforts
going
right.
through, like you
Unmatched.
paid attention to the scene direction and provided us with the performance that the narrator's telling us about, that we were just able to edit all of that into the scene underneath the narration, and needed to do very little enhancement of that to get the story across.
So that's the best casting choice I made. It's so good.
I was
Well,
listening.
we couldn't have done this without Max.
Oh, this is an exciting topic. Brett, you're also scoring and adding Foley for the episodes yourself. How do you decide when to use sound effects and when do you use existing sounds? Or have you had to create your own?
My favorite is creating my own sound effects, but sometimes it's a car screech that you go, well, I'm gonna have to just go public domain.
Yeah, did you use a library bank of, where did you get all those sound effects that you didn't create?
Public domain.
Public domain.
Public domain stuff. I just went and looked up on that. But the
irony is, his dad was in recording, and Brett gave me like 30 CDs of sound effects, and I kept saying, "Do you want these?" "No, I got it." Let's have an example of a sound effect you created.
So one of the sound effects was astral projection. Which is one of the characters who's dead. It like takes their spiritual form of another person, and it was.
Whoa!
I've certainly walked in or walked past Brett's office when he's scoring something or adding Foley, and it's really interesting because I feel like you've kind of gone back to the old way of people scoring Foley. So there's like the scene with Larry walking through Blackflower House in ankle deep water. Brett recorded that. Lee, sorry, yes. Recorded that live to the track. So he's listening to the scene and sitting in his office desk with this small bowl of water, and he's just going like this, splashing water, recording that, and then a skeleton creature drops into the basement, and so he's like pats the water, and
That's
he's
hilarious.
doing it all live to.
Do we have any film of that?
No.
It's like that scene in Modern Romance when Albert Brooks and Bruno Kirby, they're the sound guys, and they have to do the Foley of George Kennedy carrying that heavy silver thing and running through the spaceship. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh God, that's a funny scene.
All right, I have to watch.
I'm gonna have to send you that.
Yes.
You've asked for a soundtrack.
Yeah.
Every character has their own theme music, which I know there are a lot of characters in this. So if you key into that might be helpful to folks.
I still listen to your score for Stranger, the horror play you wrote. I still listen to the Red Leaf music, and in Blackflower, I just that transitional thing that I mean, it's that almost rivals the Haunted Mansion theme for me.
Oh wow!
That's high praise, first off, but secondly, I think I want to have two albums, so it's like I can have the actual soundtrack for Blackflower, and then I want to have Max's rendition of it.
Oh, we have to talk about the waterphone.
Like, it's the weirdest thing in the world. I think I gotta bring it out.
We're back. Brett has got the waterphone out for us.
So this is what it looks like. It almost looks like an upside down spider, like a dead spider, and it goes like this.
Not that close to that microphone. Back it up.
More?
Yeah. waterphone in this house.
That's great.
It's a really fascinating instrument. Pop it there.
Pop it there.
It can sit here for the rest of the
The talk
episode.
show, stupid waterphone tricks. Let's talk about, I want you to start and then you to finish. The casting process. How did you go about it?
Yeah, it's well, we're very blessed to be friends with a lot of amazing talent. We wanted to showcase, if we were going to do this, then part of this process is not only to get our work out there, but to hopefully help boost all of our friends. So that was where we started. But then we needed to fill it out with other folks, and so that was, I don't know, maybe you could talk about that.
We just reached out to wherever we could. We had Ken, who is a acting coach. Is one of the. He's also an actor. He's also in it, but he knew a bunch of young actors that we could bring in.
Yeah, so that was nice too, because we got to expand our friends into, well, quite frankly, younger people, because we're
Very old.
old AF, as the kids say. And then also there were people that had expressed interest in doing this who hadn't ever done it before, and so this is a great opportunity to get, one of my production assistants had wanted to give a try at acting, and so we brought him in, and he ended up doing really well, and we used him for a couple of different characters, and yeah, so it was, and then also just who would say yes, and who would commit to 18 months of.
We had a couple people in the beginning who were like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
How did you assign roles? There's a lot of roles in this.
So for the bigger roles, we had very specific ideas. Mm-hmm. For the smaller roles, it was about who was available.
Beelzebub. Yeah.
Who is there? Because with the pool that we had with our acting talent, it was like everyone was so good. Throw them that. Let's have them do that.
And that's how I ended up with most of my roles. It was
nice.
Well, we don't have a lot of other female performers here this Saturday.
Right. Yeah, I'll just do
Sarah, you do the bar patron.
Great.
Oh, that was actually really enjoyed that,
was
one.
good.
That was
Bear shots. Anyway.
All right. Here's the last question. And you need to answer this honestly.
I will.
You have a choice. Choice A or choice B.
Okay.
Now, you and I have collaborated on a lot of horror. Let's see. Blood Porch, Stranger, Red Leaf Complex, Untitled Treatment, blah, blah, blah. And now you've collaborated with your wife on 1968 Blackflower Drive. Who do you like collaborating with more?
Let's see.
Look at her twinkling.
I'm trying to figure out if I know a lawyer. So, politically, I'm in a very dangerous and precarious spot. I will say this. So, technically, schedule-wise, I prefer Sarah. But creatively, I think I might align more with you.
Right.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
How did it affect the marriage, working this intimately under one roof together for so long on this thing?
At times it was amazing and great, and at times I'm gonna take a walk. I'm gonna go talk with the dogs now.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing that we learned very quickly is that this could become all-consuming, and one or the other of us will be thinking about this project or working on it, and the other person is not at all. And so, quite frankly, more often than not, it was Brett and I was not thinking about it. And so I would be doing some crafting or watching television, and Brett would wander in and just start spouting off some idea. Oh, it did happen the other way around occasionally. But we ended up having to schedule production meetings, basically. Yeah. So twice a week for 2 hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we scheduled time to discuss the production what we still needed, all of that kind of stuff, whatever was coming down the pike. And we've still kept to that for the most part, although now that the podcast's out and we're scrambling to finish the last few episodes, which are not done. They're done by the time you probably see this, but we don't have the luxury of that, so we have to give each other a lot of grace to be like, I need to talk about this right now because I need your advice. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely been stressful moments, but for the most part, it's actually exciting. I've been able to take ownership of this and some of the creative aspect of it too, which is something that's completely out of my wheelhouse. I mean, I'm creative in other ways, but not really in the production side. In the production side, I'm more about the scheduling, and it goes with my paid employment. So I've really enjoyed being allowed that to be part of that process.
You finally, it was like I think we were actually almost on episode 5 or something like that. You met with someone and you said you came back from the meeting and was like,
I said my podcast
this is
for the first time.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's like you really,
instead of my husband's.
Yeah.
Because there's
podcast
a lot of
that I'm helping with.
It's nice though. You have your fur babies.
Yes.
And now you've created a baby together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let's call it for this episode of Behind Blackflower. Now, let me ask you this. Max, you are an accomplished artist, and you also have a book that's out now,
Why don't you let Max tell everybody what he's up to and where they can find out more about him?
Oh, you can just go to Max Koch. It's Koch, by the way. MaxCookUncorked.com has all the links and stuff. But I do have a book out. It's something I'm very proud of, and it's very interesting how my book was a 2-year process and yours was that long. So it's kind of been a parallel experience, and I with us and my thing, and I think we released both of our thing on the same day, if I recall.
It was within the same week, definitely.
Well, yeah.
And so there's been a lot of cross-promotion.
But it's called Max Cook Draws, a Crude Retrospective, and it's a book that I worked very hard on, and it's available on Amazon, Kindle, or Apple Books. And if you have Kindle, you can read it for free on Kindle Unlimited.
Ooh.
And
it's fantastic.
It's an amazing look at the grotesque of humanity. And it's beautiful. It's funny. It's horrific. It's
There's a lot of horror in it. Cool.
Well, we'll put everything in the show notes and where people can find you.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at pryzonsbreak@gmail.com. Spelling's weird, so go to our socials, or maybe by now I will have learned how to put something up on the video that scrolls. Please follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at 1968.bfd, and on YouTube at 1968bfd without the dot. And follow, subscribe, comment, press that bell thing.
Share.
Oh yes. Download, all of those things, all those good things. 1968 Blackflower Drive can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're hosted by Acast, on YouTube, and most other places that you can find where you like to listen to your podcasts. And
if you have any questions for us, did you already say that?
She already said that.
Yeah.
She already did that bit.
We hope you keep listening. Bye.
Pryzsons broken.
There's just 2 things I have to ask.
People are going to be bored.
I don't know. I think it's very entertaining. You guys agree?
Well, yeah, we think it's very entertaining.